In the reset process, the important thing is gratitude. So you cannot forgive a thing or an event or a person, or even forgive yourself, until you find gratitude for the bad thing. And this is the thing that's missing from a lot of forgiveness literature, because in your automated like operating system, your ability to hold a grudge and be grateful, you cannot do it. So that tiny spark of gratitude is the thing that starts the fire of forgiveness. And then forgiveness is something you do, and it's a feeling in your heart, and it's a specific brainwave. And I'm using the tech to guide you into the right state. And it's similar to a thing you can do with a therapist called EMDR, where they'll also...
About that. Love EMDR.
Okay, me too. EMDR is powerful. And anyone listening, if you have a trauma that you know about, you can go to EMDR and it'll be better in like 1 or 2 sessions.
Yeah.
And it's not the same as the reset process, but the similarity with EMDR is you go into the state of like that's icky, but there's another state that's the opposite of that. And when the body says, wait, I cannot possibly have been as much of a threat as I thought I was, because I just experienced this exalted spiritual state of heart openness and beauty, and I just experienced gratitude. So then it realizes my programming was wrong. I had the wrong threat detection system. Let me just erase that. Yeah. And when it's erased, it's actually gone.
Yeah, I look at it almost like time travel. It's like time travel back to the time, and you reprogram the event. And
you've done a ton of personal development work, Danica. You're interesting. Like it is that, but most people don't say it's time travel. But yeah, you go back and your body doesn't really know about time because it's a bunch of dumb bacteria in there anyway. So they don't know. And here's the weird thing. When someone does those 5 days of this, is like just deep, it's meant to replace decades of meditation in 5 days, which is why I keep using it as an example, because and I can see the numbers. When they're done, they're like, oh my God, I am so different. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. But then 6 weeks later, they're like, yeah, it was awesome. It made a difference. I still remember it was really good, but I feel like I'm myself again. And then you ask their spouse or their friends, like, are you kidding me? Like, you're a completely different person. But already what's going on is it was just you, but more you, and your memory of every event. Once you do a forgiveness process, your memory is no longer emotionally charged. So that's why that CIA guy could look at me and go, yeah, I was tortured, because he'd done his forgiveness work.
Yeah.
There's 2 things that really are just irritating. And one of them is worrying, right? Like, I'm going to play this potential story of the future over and over. And the thing about worrying is it's coming from those ancient mitochondria programmed to look for that threat. But the more they look for it, the more they find it. So worrying is provably bad for your outcomes. Yeah. It's manifesting in a negative way. So you got to learn how to shut down the voice in your head. And I had all the critical voices and worrying voices and all that. I did enough, shamanic training and meditating in the Andes and Himalayas and, ayahuasca in Peru in the 90s when, they actually told me
that's ahead of the curve.
Well, they actually, I was asking around and they're like, you're white. I'm like, yeah, I know. But that's only for local people. I said, no, I've done my research. I really have come here and I'm choosing to do this. And they found a shaman for me and all. But yeah, that was before it was a tourism thing. And I actually think it's a little bit dangerous to do it without the right supervision.
Oh, it's always dangerous to do without supervision.
There are safer medicines out there. Anyway, not to get diverged there.
Safer medicines like
almost any of the other psychedelics. So do you want to know like the order of options for altered states work for trauma healing?
I would love it.
Okay. I gave this as a talk. I was with a group of really highly successful people looking at extreme longevity, which has been an area of focus for me for a long time. And one of the guys got up and said, I have done 50 plant journeys this year and it's been life-changing, and you should all do this too. I'm like, there's 2 billionaires in the audience here, right? These are people who control masses of jobs And to a large extent, they control some of the future, because if you're a billionaire and you're like, I'm going to put $500 million into destruction of soil or saving of soil, it actually matters a lot more than my 32-acre regenerative farm, right? Like they're moving the needle. So I said, I got to give a talk after this. I said, guys, I have tried these things. I've done the trauma healing work. So here's what you do. Okay. Step 1, do some breath work.
I just knew you were going to say breath work. I knew.
And meditation. And if you're not getting there fast enough, okay, step 2, maybe you should try EMDR, which we talked about just a minute ago, because it's really fast.
Yep.
Right. And if that doesn't work, then let's go lightweight. Try some MDA, which is different than MDMA. It's without the meth part of MDMA. So MDA is more heart opening and less stimulating than MDMA. And if that doesn't work, do MDMA. And if that doesn't work, do ketamine, which is very safe. And I'm saying do this with a therapist. I did one of my podcast episodes. I got injected with ketamine at a psychiatrist clinic just to talk about what it does and to experience it. And if you're still not getting there, and ketamine is very powerful for forgiveness.
I tried it. I've done it.
You've tried it? Okay. I would call it the forgiveness molecule. It's really good for forgiveness. So and then, okay, you're like still not there with ketamine. All right. Well, then maybe you could try LSD. And if it's not there, okay, mushrooms. The problem with mushrooms is you don't know what you're going to get. There's 100 different kinds of mushrooms picked from different sources, and they put a load on the liver.
Some are outward, some some are really strong, some aren't as much. I agree.
So I love mushrooms, depending on which ones I get, and so I just don't like the variance there. And when it comes to plant molecules like that, there's also like energetics. Like, was it picked under a full moon? Was it picked by like a very angry person? I think it matters. And so do the shamans who have taught me these things. So I don't like the variance there, but LSD is relatively stable. If it's actually LSD, then it does what it does because it's a synthetic molecule.
Yeah.
And then after mushrooms, then you would look at doing DMT, then 5-MeO DMT.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. I don't know much about the 5-MeO one.
And they're relatively similar, but the MEO is a little bit stronger. And if you still haven't got there, then you hop on an airplane, you fly to Peru, or maybe Ecuador, or somewhere where there's someone who has taken ayahuasca on a daily basis for decades. And then they put you in a ring of stones and do a bunch of incantations and have you eat a special diet for a little while. And then they do the real deal. Because I remember when I did ayahuasca, the one time I did, I haven't been called to do it since then. I went down there. I said, okay, look, I'm fine. And the person I was doing it with also was throwing up and everything. And he'd given me a triple dose, but I processed. I didn't throw up. I said, I'm going to go for a walk. And he goes, no, you can't. And I'm like, look, I can touch my nose. I am not high.
It wasn't hitting you, right?
No, it did hit me. I'd had my experience, but I was just done with my experience. Oh. And so this was after it. I definitely had gone and visited stuff. And I said, I am totally okay. I just want to walk. And he said, do you see the ring of stones? And I said, yeah. And he said, those stones are there to keep things out because you are still open. And if you go outside that ring of stones, I will have to remove all the things that are going to stick to you. And that's a lot of work. And I don't want to do that. Okay, that's a real shaman. The job of a shaman in a plant medicine ceremony with that substance is to keep all the bad malware out of your system that can enter, which is why I recommend more caution with ayahuasca than I would with any of the other things in that order of operations. Oh, I forgot the one after breathwork, meditation, MDR, tantric sex. You should do that before you start going and doing ketamine.
So that one, I have to cross that one off the list.
There you go. Seriously, about 20% of people will report in surveys of having profound religious experiences during orgasm. Yeah. And their partner just sees them twitching and having a good time, but they're meeting God. So
I agree. I mean, that's what a cool hierarchy list. And you're totally right. Ayahuasca has become so much more mainstream, and
There are some dark people targeting famous and rich and powerful people with ayahuasca, and I don't think that that's always clean. Sometimes it is, but there's some stuff I don't always like there, but there's also some good stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, all I can think of is literally coming home like in the middle of a ceremony, 2 nights, second night, midnight, wake up, we got to pack our bags and leave because the border's shutting down in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That was how night 2 ended.
That's a big wake up.